Welcome to Western Australia, or as the locals call it, WA, because who has time for full names in a place this laid back? WA is the land where the phrase "I'm just popping down the road" can mean anything from a quick 5-minute stroll to a 500-kilometer road trip. This place is huge, and if you're planning to explore it, you'd better bring snacks, plenty of water, and a playlist longer than War and Peace. Let's start with the granddaddy of all road trips, the Nullarbor Plain. If you're one of those people who loves the open road, this is the ultimate test of your endurance, patience, and how much bad singing your car can handle. The Nullarbor, which means no trees in Latin, and they weren't kidding, is a vast, flat expanse of land that stretches for 1,200 kilometers, or about 745 miles, between the towns of Ceduna in South Australia and Norseman in Western Australia. It's like someone took the world's biggest pancake, flattened it even more, and then decided it needed a road right through the middle. But wait, there's more. The road itself, the Eyre Highway, runs for about 1,660 kilometers. That's just over 1,030 miles for those playing along at home, from Port Augusta in South Australia to Norseman in WA. It's the longest stretch of straight road in Australia and possibly the universe. Seriously, it's so straight, if your steering wheel could talk, it'd probably just take a nap. The Eyre Highway is famous for its 90-mile straight, the longest straight stretch of road in the country, 146.6 kilometers or 91.1 miles of road. So straight, it makes a ruler look wobbly. So, what's it like driving across the Nullarbor? Well, imagine this. You're cruising along, enjoying the view, which is pretty much the same in every direction, when suddenly you see a kangaroo standing in the middle of the road, then another and another. It's like a kangaroo flash mob, and they're not moving. This is their turf, and they know it. But don't worry. After a few minutes of waiting, and possibly a round of applause, they'll hop off, and you'll be back to your solitary drive. What about the scenery? Picture this: flat, flat, and flatter. But don't let that fool you into thinking it's boring. The Nullarbor has its own kind of beauty, the kind that makes you appreciate the small things in life, like the occasional bush, a passing cloud, or the excitement of spotting the world's most remote roadhouse. Yes, that's a real thing. The roadhouses along the Nullarbor, there are 12, are like tiny oases in the desert, offering fuel, food, and a place to stretch your legs. When you've been driving for hours without seeing another human, that meat pie is going to taste like a 5-star meal. But enough about the Nullarbor for now. We'll come back to it later when we hit the halfway mark and realize we've still got hours of driving ahead. Let's head north to the Kimberleys, where the landscape goes from flat to freakishly rugged. The Kimberleys is one of the last true wilderness areas on Earth, and it's the kind of place where your GPS might just give up and say, "You're on your own, mate." Out here, you'll stumble upon everything, from towering red cliffs to hidden swimming holes that seem straight out of a fantasy novel. Speaking of fantasy, have you ever wanted to visit a place that looks like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie? Welcome to the Bungle Bungles, or as they're more formally known, the Ningaloo National Park. These bizarre, beehive-shaped domes are made of sandstone and have been weathered by the elements over millions of years. Walking among them is like exploring another planet, one where the only inhabitants are rock wallabies and the occasional adventurous tourist. Now, let's talk about Broome. This is a town that started with pearls and ended up with camels. No, really. Broome was once the pearling capital of the world, and now it's known for its stunning cable beach, 22 kilometers, or about 14 miles of pristine white sand and crystal clear water. But the real highlight? Sunset camel rides. Yep, you can channel your inner Lawrence of Arabia and take a relaxing stroll along the beach on a camel. Because nothing says relaxing beach holiday like balancing on a giant, slightly grumpy humped mammal. From Broome, we head south to the Margaret River region, where the wine flows freely and the surf's always up. This is the place where you can start your day with a gourmet breakfast, followed by a wine tasting, a cheese tasting, and then, because you're feeling fancy, a chocolate tasting. Just when you think you've reached peak indulgence, you can burn it all off with a hike through ancient forests or a paddle along a tranquil river. Oh, and did we mention the beaches? They're some of the best in the world, and they're just as likely to be occupied by kangaroos as they are by people. Then there's Perth, the city that's so isolated, it's practically its own country. But don't let the isolation fool you. Perth is a vibrant, cosmopolitan city with a relaxed vibe that makes you feel like you're on holiday all the time. The Swan River winds its way through the city, offering a playground for kayakers, paddleboarders, and anyone who likes their morning coffee with a side of stunning views. Then there's Kings Park, a sprawling green space that's bigger than Central Park in New York. Here, you can take in panoramic views of the city skyline, have a picnic, or just lie on the grass and contemplate the meaning of life or what to have for dinner. No visit to Western Australia would be complete without a trip to the Pinnacles Desert. This is where things get a little weird, in the best possible way. Imagine thousands of limestone spires rising from the desert floor, looking like the remnants of some ancient civilization. The pinnacles are as mysterious as they are eerie, and wandering among them feels like you've stepped into another world. Just watch out for the occasional emu. They're known to pop up when you least expect them. Speaking of strange natural wonders, we absolutely have to talk about Wave Rock. Located near the town of Hayden, about 340 kilometers or 211 miles east of Perth, this incredible rock formation looks exactly like a giant ocean wave frozen in time. Standing at 15 meters, or about 49 feet high, and 110 meters, or 361 feet long, Wave Rock is made of granite and is believed to be over 2.7 billion years old. It's one of those places that makes you do a double take because, let's be honest, who expects to see a perfect surfable wave in the middle of the Outback? Locals say the rock has been eroded into its current shape over millions of years, but I like to think it's just waiting for the day it can finally catch the perfect break. But let's not forget the stars of the show, the wildlife. Western Australia is home to some of the most unique and quirky creatures on the planet. Take the quokka, for example. These small marsupials have been dubbed the world's happiest animals thanks to their seemingly permanent smile. Where can you find them? Rottnest Island, just off the coast of Perth. The quokkas here are so friendly, they might just hop up to you and pose for a selfie. Because nothing says I'm in Australia like a photo with a grinning marsupial. Then there's the Ningaloo Reef, one of the few places in the world where you can swim with whale sharks. These gentle giants migrate through the waters off the coast of Western Australia every year, and getting up close to one of these magnificent creatures is an experience that will stay with you forever. The reef itself is a kaleidoscope of colors, teeming with marine life, and the water is so clear you can see every detail of this underwater wonderland. Now, back to the Nullarbor, because we can't leave you hanging. About halfway across, you'll hit the town of Eucla, population. Not many. This tiny outpost is famous for its telegraph station ruins, which are slowly being swallowed by the shifting sands of the desert. It's a bit like visiting a ghost town, only with more sand and fewer ghosts. From here, you'll cross the border into Western Australia. Don't forget to adjust your clocks, because the time zone change is a bit of a doozy. As you continue your journey, keep an eye out for the famous Nullarbor Links, the world's longest golf course. Spanning 1,365 kilometers, or 848 miles, This par 72 course stretches from Ceduna to Kalgoorlie, with each hole located in a different town or roadhouse along the way. It's the perfect way to break up the monotony of the drive. Just don't expect manicured greens and polite applause. Out here, the caddies are more likely to be emus, and your biggest challenge might be avoiding a kangaroo in the fairway. So, what's the moral of the story? Western Australia is big, bold, and absolutely bonkers in the best possible way. It's a place where you can drive for hours without seeing another car, where the wildlife has more personality than most people, and where the landscapes will leave you speechless, if not slightly sunburnt. Whether you're exploring the rugged Outback, chilling on a pristine beach, or just trying to avoid getting lost in a desert, one thing's for sure, you'll never be bored. So, pack your bags, bring your sense of adventure and humor, and get ready to experience Western Australia, a place where the journey is just as entertaining as the destination. Who knows? You might just fall in love with this wild, wonderful, and slightly wacky corner of the world.